Hey guys, Naguura here. I'm gonna do a video today about like a New Year's resolution wish list, but instead of the list being for me, it's going to be for Blizzard and World of Warcraft. Alright, so I was thinking, when a new year starts, you write things down that you want to accomplish next year. And I was thinking that's actually a really cool thing to do for WoW because WoW has been in such a bad place for such a long time at this point. And writing some New Year's resolution for the game, not just a wish list, but I feel like they should do this. Like these are things that they should get done and just meet us halfway, and let us love the game again that we are so desperate to love. Okay, let us enjoy World of Warcraft again. So let's get into it. Let's start with being fitter, right? That is something that a lot of people always write on their New Year's resolution list. Just go to gym, lose some fat, like do that kind of stuff. And the equivalent for Blizzard would be less systems, right? There's always so many systems that they are just like putting on. There's so many systems they always put on each expansion recently, honestly. They haven't done this for that long. They just started doing this recently, and it's just getting out of hand. Because don't get me wrong, some systems are not bad, right? I think Legion had like a decent amount of systems too, but a lot of them ended up being pretty good at the end of the expansion. At the start, it was like questionable, but at the end, they actually managed to have a really good system. Like that artifact weapon was this whole like talent tree that he had in the weapon that you would unlock with your artifact power. And not to say that artifact power is a good thing, don't get me wrong, I don't like this endless grind, but the system itself kind of worked out and it was fun. People liked it. The way the legendaries worked in Legion was also something that people liked. They tried to recreate it in Shadowlands. It didn't work, right? I mean, at least in my opinion. I think the legendaries are not nearly as enjoyable and as fun as they were in Legion. They're just kind of like a thing that you need to get. Like you just need to go Torghast, go get your cinders or whatever and craft the legendaries. They're not something you get a drop and you're happy to get it. You just kind of like, it's like a chore, like it's a chore that you need to get through. So TLDR, less systems. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, super convoluted stuff put on top of each other, like system over system over system. Just get like one clear system, maybe, that doesn't involve endless sorts of grinds and make it enjoyable, meaningful as well. Because if you look at Soulbinds, for example, they are a pretty like core system of the Covenants, but the Soulbinds are all like, a lot of the traits are just like, you don't even know that they exist. Like you just pick your Soulbind and you forget about it most of the time, right? There are some that have impact, but most other traits, potency conduits and Soulbind traits, a lot of them have like zero impact or barely impact at all. And that's boring. We want to have impact. We want to see, like, we want to pick something and it does something, even if it's just an animation. I remember in Legion, Moonkin's artifact weapon had this one trait in their weapon that had a chance of having Star Surge do a portion of its damage again. So when you shot out a Star Surge, there was a chance that like this astral wolf procced and also went into your target. And it was this cool animation that it kind of is a pick and forget ability, right? Because it's not that you change your playstyle for a 30% chance on your Star Surge proc, but at least it had a cool animation, and when it procced, you saw it proccing, right? So you press your Star Surge and you saw it. So if it's gonna be an ability that doesn't change your playstyle or anything, it should at least be somewhat noticeable and like a cool thing, right? Both BFA and Shadowlands had these things, systems, abilities that you had to get there, so you needed to do the chores to get it, but then in the end, it barely had any impact, you didn't notice it, and it's just annoying and a chore, and it doesn't feel great because it has zero impact. So, less systems, the systems that we do get should be impactful, noticeable, they should affect your spec instead of the whole class or all of the classes. And it just needs to feel better, right? Systems itself are not bad, they just need to feel good. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about being more social. That is probably something that some people put on their New Year's resolution list as well. myself included. And I do think Blizzard also needs to put this on their list. Be more social, I mean, interact with the community more. I know that Blizzard is like, Activision is like this huge corporation, really, but I feel like you can still connect to your community more without making everything so like political, tippy-toeing like around everything, being scared of saying the wrong thing. I know that a lot of the reasons why Blizzard is so quiet and they don't communicate that much is because, you know, if they say something that they end up not doing in the end, then people are gonna go, you said this, you know, you said it's gonna do this and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I feel like if they're just honest, you know, just talk to us, be honest. And if you announce or if you say something like, you know, we're thinking about doing that, and then you don't do it, if some people are gonna go get back to it and be like, you said you're gonna do this, then you can just ignore them because you didn't say that you're gonna do it, you said you're thinking about it, right? So as long as you just don't promise anything, we just want to have more information. We're just always sitting here not having enough information. I know that there's some work that is being done with the community council, and there's some interviews here and there that are happening as well, but I feel like there should still just be more. I want transparency, honesty, and sometimes even just like admitting mistakes. You know, just admit if something went wrong. No excuses, just humility, like be humble, say, okay, this didn't work out. We thought it's gonna work, it didn't. We're gonna change it or whatever. Just honest, like all of those things, please. I think the community is gonna come around if this kind of interaction improves on, right? Because I think a big reason why everyone is so angry with everything that Blizzard does is, of course, because of the horrible things that has been happening within Activision with the lawsuits and with the employees getting treated horribly, of course. But additionally to that, there's also like the community is just frustrated, feel disconnected, you know? It feels like there's this big disconnect from the community to employees that are making the game. It just feels like there's this separation where the community wants something and the people who make the game, they feel like, oh, the community just hates us, we're not going to listen to them, we're going to do our own thing, right? So this needs to be fixed. This communication, this relationship between the devs and Blizzard as a whole with the community, it needs to be fixed somehow. And I honestly really think that the community can come around if there's going to be more communication, honest communication. Also, community managers. Why aren't there more community managers that talk to community more with information from the devs? Because I understand that a developer doesn't like say something because if you're a developer, then people are going to listen to you and maybe even quote something that you said before, right? That has happened a lot of times. But a community manager, if they say something, then in the end, there's this like security net where you say, okay, it was the community manager that said that, right? It wasn't the dev personally that said it, but the community manager can communicate with the devs and then get the information across to the community, right? So having more community managers that actually keep this relationship between the devs and the community alive and healthy, I feel like that's something that we need badly. That is something that I think Path of Exile and Warframe are doing really well, where whenever there's a patch, they go and stream on their main channel, they have drops enabled, they talk about patches, they talk about things that went wrong, things that they're going to fix. And this is happening really quickly, right? There's a patch that gets applied. If the community is unhappy, 1 week later, they talk about it. They say, okay, so what's the problem with this? What they think is the problem and how to solve it, right? So they basically sum it up into what the community has issues with, what the devs think causes the issue, and then solutions, right? And I think that is something that Blizzard never really does. I feel like a lot of the times when there's a problem the community is vocal about, for example, conduit energy, right? Conduit energy is something that the community was so vocal about, but I feel like the response that we got from Blizzard was so underwhelming. They did address it a few times in like a blue post, but it was always incredibly underwhelming. They always had some sort of explanation, but it wasn't really like, why wasn't there a compromise, right? Because the explanation they had for why the conduit energy is there was not necessarily a cause for there to not be a compromise, right? So I just felt incredibly underwhelming. They're explaining it, but then it's like, yeah, I get that, but why don't you just do this then as a community person, right? And they just don't get back to you after that, right? So having maybe like more community managers, community people that are focusing on actually talking to the community and getting the information they need to be able to talk to the community from the devs, that would be a great communication system, and it would solve a lot of the issues in my opinion. Then, let's move on. Sorry, I'm rambling a lot. Let's talk about being better with your taxes. I think that is something that a lot of people also put onto their New Year's resolutions, and I think Blizzard should look at this as well. Of course, not literally, but what I mean with that is in 9.1.5, they did a lot of things that the community asked for, but they added the Blizzard tax on it. For example, they said, you know what, we hear you. Playing alts right now is really like overwhelming. There's so many things you have to do to catch up, and we're gonna help you. We're gonna give you catch-up systems. And they did, but not for everything. And I understand that you shouldn't log on your alt and immediately have everything. Like I'm not a person that thinks that's how it should work. But the catch-up systems that they give you was, for example, you can go up to 40 renown immediately, but only if you have a character that has 80 renown, right? There was like one catch already. Then, additionally, 40 renown, once you're at 40, there's still 40 to go, right? And I understand that people should be, playing their characters to catch up, but it just feels like it's still so daunting. Like, it's such a huge mountain that you have to climb to be able to get your characters up to date that it just really discourages people to play the game. And isn't that exactly what Blizzard does not want? Like, you want your players to play the game, no? You want your players to play alts, right? So why is it that I have this feeling that I log on my alt and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna log out again because I open up my renown, I see I'm missing 40 renown, I look at my shards, domination shards, right? There's absolutely zero way of getting domination shards upgraded quicker than how it was at the start of 9.1. And I mean, it's January, and the patch came out in July, so it's half a year later, and there's still no easier way to get your shards upgraded other than the same ways you did 6 months ago, right? So why isn't there some sort of mechanic, something to make it easier and not have to log on and be like, oh, well, I can get the shards now, but it might take me like 4 weeks, and then it's gonna take me like 2 months to upgrade them all or something. It's just such a daunting feeling, especially because there's so many systems piled on top of each other that not only do you need to upgrade your shards, well, you need to get your shards and then you need to upgrade them. You also need to get your 80 renown. You need to farm your cinders and your soul ash to get your legendaries as well. And it's just so many things that are piling up that it just feels very daunting as to even play those characters. So that's what I mean with the Blizzard tax, right? If there's things that the community, has been asking for a long time, then try to not put a Blizzard tax on it, right? Like, please, when we say we want no conduit energy, then we want no conduit energy. We don't want the conduit energy to recharge half a day quicker or whatever it was that they did last time. No, we want there to be no conduit energy. And here's the thing, right? I think a lot of the time Blizzard might be worried about certain outcomes. For example, the biggest problem they had with conduit energy was the fact that they thought without conduit energy, people feel forced to constantly change their conduits, right? They thought that for after each boss, you're going to go into your Covenant Hall, change your conduits, and come back for the next boss because it's more optimal or something. Now, let's assume you would have removed conduit energy quickly. Like after the community asked for it for like a few months. And that actually would have happened. That people felt the need to go back and change it all the time. Well, if that actually happens, then you can think about solving the issue, right? And you don't have to go back to conduit energy, you just come up with something else. Or maybe even go back to conduit energy. Whatever it may be, that's something you can think about afterwards, right? I feel like the first thing should always be listen to what the community says, do what they say. If it actually doesn't work out, because obviously sometimes the community asks for something, but they don't necessarily think of the consequences, right? I know that happens. But if so many people are asking for it and the community has such a strong opinion about something, then changing it to what the community wants, and then if the consequences that you thought are going to happen actually do happen, then you can think about fixing it afterwards, right? But at that point, the community necessarily can't complain about it as much anymore, right? So let's say the community says, remove conduit energy. And then Blizzard goes and removes conduit energy. If it actually causes problems that are annoying, well, then the community can't complain about it as much anymore because that's literally what they asked for, right? So maybe the community is going to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is not that good. Maybe we want to think about a solution for this problem now, right? But then you can think about it and fix that. So I think the first response should always be listen to what the community says, interact with your community, don't put Blizzard tags on things, and just listen. All right, I think that's what I have at the moment for New Year's resolutions for Blizzard. Less systems, more communication with the community, fixing the relationship, and additionally, please no more Blizzard tags on everything. I beg you, please. And then we can enjoy the game that we love or used to love again and enjoy it again. And that's it for my New Year's resolutions for Blizzard. Hopefully some of these things are going to happen. They did talk about some stuff. Let's wait for 9.2, see what happens. Let's wait for the next expansion, see if any of those New Year's resolutions actually come true. Maybe I'll revisit this video in a year from now and see if any of this actually got better. All right, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day. Bye!